το άνοιγμα του φετινού φεστιβάλ. Ο σκηνοθέτης, ο κύριος Αλεξάντερ Πέιν και ο διευθυντής φωτογραφίας, ο κύριος Πέτρος είναι μαζί μας. Πριν ξεκινήσουμε να μιλάμε όμως, θα ήθελα να δώσω το λόγο στον διευθυντή του φεστιβάλ, τον κύριο Δημήτρη Επίδη, για λίγα λόγια.
Καλημέρα. Θέλω και εγώ να σας καλωσορίσω και να σας ευχαριστήσω για την παρουσία σας σήμερα το πρωί, μεσημέρι τώρα. Είμαστε πραγματικά ενθουσιασμένοι ότι εξασφαλίσαμε σαν εναρκτήρια ταινία το πρόσφατο έργο του Αλεξάντερ Πέιν, μια ταινία που διαπρέπει παντού ήδη, και στην Ευρώπη και στην Αμερική. Έχει συμμετέχει στα φεστιβάλ της Βενετίας, του Τορόντο και στη Νέα Υόρκη. Ήταν η ταινία λήξης του φεστιβάλ της Νέας Υόρκης. Ένας άλλος λόγος ότι αισθάνομαι πολύ ευχαριστημένος, ευτυχισμένος, είναι ότι ο Αλεξάντερ Πέιν είναι φίλος του Φεστιβάλ της Θεσσαλονίκης, είναι φίλος της Θεσσαλονίκης, είναι Έλληνο-Αμερικανός. Είμαστε όλοι περήφανοι ότι έχουμε έναν ταλαντούχο παιδί δικό μας, ο οποίος στον παγκόσμιο χώρο του κινηματογράφου διαπρέπει και δημιουργεί και εξακολουθεί να παράγει σημαντικότατες ταινίες. Τον καλωσορίζουμε λοιπόν, δεν θέλω να σας απασχολήσω άλλο. Θα έχετε την ευκαιρία να συνομιλήσετε μαζί του. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Before we start, would you like to say something? Okay, so before I give I let the audience ask the questions, I would like to just ask, why did it take you so long to make a movie after Sideways?
That question tortures me a little bit because I didn't want it to take so long. Okay. Yeah, but life happens. Sometimes things take longer than you want them to take. The main reason is that I spent almost 3 years writing the screenplay for a different film, and one that I have not made yet.
The film that is coming up in your schedule, are you planning to do it?
In about 3 films from now.
And this is the second collaboration with Evan. You worked together in Sideways. So, did you know the true reason he hasn't done a movie in 7 years? We're still recovering from Sideways. It's a long process to be done. So, did you know each other from before working together, or?
We met in about 1986, originally in Los Angeles. I interviewed him and photographed my thesis film from UCLA Film School.
Yes, so I went to see him at his apartment in Hollywood, and we spent a couple hours together, had a nice conversation, and then ultimately he decided to hire somebody else. So we didn't work on that occasion. It took 20 years for him to call me. I was actually
Ακούτε τι λεγόμαστε, τι λέγεται. Αν θα μπορούσαμε να δυναμώσουμε λίγο τα μικρόφωνα.
Anyway, so that's better. And then I was actually on vacation in Greece, and we had seen each other occasionally, just running into. I mean, we lived in the same neighborhood, and we would just bump into each other in various cafes, or also Alexander went to film school with a few other people I ended up working with over the years, other directors that he had were his classmates. And then I was on vacation in Greece, and we hadn't really talked ever about working together, and he just called in and said, "Would you like to do my next film?" And I said, "Well, I'd love to. I'll be back in about 2 months." And he goes, "That's no problem." And that was Sideways.
What are you looking in when you're choosing a DP for your movies?
Obviously, photographic talent. Photographic talent, but also we become partners, creative partners, so there has to be a friendship, a good spirit of friendship between us.
And to do 2 movies and starting a 3rd one from what I'm reading,
yes.
It seems that the friendship is going well.
Yes. We will begin shooting our new film in May.
Okay. Could you talk a bit about
as long as it doesn't get too summer. It's not too summer, but
Yeah, it's just a very small comedy, a new film. But the interesting thing for us as creative collaborators will be we're going to make it in black and white. And I've always been looking for an opportunity to make a film in black and white.
I was reading that it's probably going to be a color version as well
For television.
So
But who cares?
But so how is it going to work? Is it going to be shot in color and then
Shot digitally, which will actually be able to give us the best opportunity to have it look a beautiful black and white on film because of the technology today. And that will allow us then to do some interesting minimal color version of television.
Going back to The Descendants, you said that you were working for 3 years on a script on another movie. So how did The Descendants happen? What attracted you to this one?
I have a small company in Los Angeles, film company, and we had bought the book 2 years before I decided to make it, thinking this is the type of thing we like to do, very human, very small, no Hollywood gimmick or contrivance. But I didn't want to do it at first because I was busy with my other scenario. And then finally, when I saw that it was going to be difficult to find the money for the other one,
George Clooney wanted to work with you for Sideways and you didn't want to use him. And
Yes.
What made you change your mind for this movie?
he wasn't right for Sideways, but he's exactly right for this one.
Okay, I would like to ask if any of you have any questions. Αν υπάρχει κάποια ερώτηση από εσάς. Μισό λεπτό, θα σας δώσουμε...
Εκτός από την αγγλική γλώσσα, μιλάει άλλη γλώσσα, γιατί λέει ότι είναι Ελληνοαμερικανός. Δεν θα έπρεπε να μας μιλήσει και λίγα στα ελληνικά.
So the question is if you speak another language and you should speak a bit in Greek since you are a Greek American.
Έχεις δίκιο.
Υπάρχει κάποια άλλη ερώτηση? So, since... okay.
Ευχαριστούμε.
No. Wait for the microphone.
I make it in English. In your movie, in a quotation they say the families Latin and Belarus with islands. The movie is about two levels about the relationship between a man and a woman and the relationship between a parent and his children. Nowadays, with all happening, is it possible for this relationship to stay a man to manage to keep things in order? We see today consumerism.
See today where?
Consumerism, the economic crisis. Is it possible? What is the message of the movie?
What's the message of the movie?
Yes.
Well, I can't tell you that. It's a secret.
Secret. And
Is it possible?
To keep a normal relationship between...
I have no idea. I mean, people have been making narrative art about dysfunctional families for thousands of years, and I think this is no exception. Greek tragedy, dysfunctional families, you know? So, I really don't know. And what's the message of the film? You have to see the film.
Κυρίως, μπροστά, εδώ.
Hi. You said that George Clooney wasn't right for the part for Sideways, for Giamatti part. I think there are many similarities in the characters in Giamatti's one in Sideways and George Clooney's one in Descendants. Like one guy in his 40s or 50s that everything collapsing in his life. Do you think that I found very comic. Very fun that you chose handsome actor to play a role part that maybe Paul Giamatti again could act again, because there are many similarities in those two characters, in Sideways and
Well,
Sinners.
first of all, for Sideways, George Clooney would have played the other guy, the actor. But, you know, George Clooney is handsome, but I wonder if he weren't a movie star, maybe he worked at a gas station or he worked somewhere else, if people would still think he is as handsome as he is if he weren't a movie star. But the truth is that in Hawaii, people of that class aren't very good looking. You go to Hawaii, these are people who are on the beach and surfing and playing volleyball from being children. So it's no cliche to say that they're quite good looking.
But you said in the beginning that it's not a movie about that, about the certain guys, the good guys.
I know. Okay, I'm full of contradiction.
It's work for me. It was work for me. It wasn't.
No, I mean, it's not also, I mean, we're not glamorizing him. I mean, his wardrobe, if you look at his wardrobe, it's you know, he's wearing his pants up with his belt. And, I mean, yeah, in general, I mean, visually, the whole movie, I mean, we always play for the realism. We rarely affect any of the locations. I mean, not to the degree that dogma movies do, but we always look and find locations that we then basically do not affect and do not manipulate too much, and everything is very reality based. All the aesthetics in both films and Sideways. I mean, we do look for the contrast, of course. I mean, the beauty and the power of the landscape, and that affects him psychologically, his decisions and emotionally. But the city and the urban life, day in and day out, I mean, we try to portray that as realistic and unmanipulated as possible.
I think also, when you talk about George Clooney, you bring to the film the context of his other movies. But of course, as an arrogant director, when you see my film, I want you to see only this movie and forget the context.
Θα ήθελα να διατυπώσω την ερώτησή μου στα ελληνικά.
Μην πλησιάζετε το μικρόφωνο.
Για να την διατυπώσω καλύτερα. Αυτός ο ανθρωποκεντρικός κινηματογράφος.
Περιμένετε, would you like to wear your headphones to hear the translation?
Αυτός ο ανθρωποκεντρικός κινηματογράφος, τον οποίο υπηρετεί με συνέπεια και για τον οποίο πρέπει να είναι περήφανος, γιατί μιλάει για αισθήματα, για ανθρώπους, για καταστάσεις ανθρώπινες μέσα στη ζωή. Πόσο μπορεί να επιβιώσει σε αυτόν τον καταράκτη, τον blockbuster της Αμερικής?
It's a very good question. And I don't know the answer. I feel very lucky that I can continue to make the small human films that I make.
No, there's
But I also understand that I'm rare today. There are not many American filmmakers who are able to continue to make small human dramas or comedies. It's true. And I don't know what the answer is. I know for me, part of the secret is to keep the costs of my films as low as possible so I don't have the pressure to make a big profit. I don't have to have a hit. My films have to have a profit of $1. Then I can continue to make films. I just wish there were more directors who have the same aspiration to make small human films. But I just don't know. The question is a good one, and I really don't know the answer.
I mean, hopefully what will happen is the studios will only base their commercial profit on the gigantic movies that they will continue doing, like the Batmans and the Iron Mans and the Marvel comics, and then that will open up sort of start making movies for adult audiences that are smaller and more intimate, for about 10 or maybe even under 10. Those movies are starting to exist, and then because of the digital technology and the independent filmmakers, I mean, that existed in Hollywood. I mean, people always, especially in Europe, always perceived us as not having those films. That's just because those films don't really come to Europe because you are flooded with, our mainstream products. But we've always had, a large amount of independent filmmakers, and now they're able to make films again for incredibly low amounts of money. I mean, same as you guys do in Greece, but you can make a feature film for 200,000
or less,
or 100,000 or 50,000, depending on your story. I mean, of course, you can't make any film, but you can tell a lot of stories for 200,000. So I do think there'll be an emergence of that, and then I do think there'll be audiences that will be looking for that, and then the studios will, like Fox has, their smaller divisions, there's Fox Searchlight, and I think, they will spend and try and make their profits on the big blockbuster movies, and then, make movies like ours that they don't really expect to make a lot of money on, but they'll make them for awards and prestige, and,
the producers don't go to the Oscars with Transformers.
Yeah, they don't. So they make the money with those, and then they still want, same as the movie stars, they want to make their money, but they want to get their paycheck out of the big picture, but then they do people like Clooney and people like Philip Seymour Hoffman and Randolph, and all these people, Robert Downey Jr., he will do an Iron Man, but they will want to also get awards and work on, meaningful films. But gaming, all these people do that. So, hopefully that will increase also.
Meanwhile, I watch old movies and foreign movies.
What about recent American films or from other parts of the world?
Yeah.
What do you think about the recent American cinema, your fellow directors?
Every year in the United States, there are maybe 5 movies that I like. But that's it. I actually don't go to see many current American films. If I watch a movie, 5 movies a week, I would say 4 are old.
What do you still find in those? I mean, what do you think the current films lack?
Character, story, humanity, proximity to real life, not distance from real life. But look, every year there are magnificent films, not necessarily English language, but if you have a sense of world cinema, there are magnificent films being made. This year, for example, I love the Iranian film A Separation by Farhadi. I think that film is almost perfect.
You spoke about the Oscars earlier. Does this word come to your mind when you're starting a project, when you're making a full film?
No. The whole idea of Oscars comes to me later when people ask me about it.
Sorry. Ο κύριος.
Ο Oliver Stone έκανε το δικό του Αλέξανδρο, τον Αμερικάνικο. Ο Oliver Stone έκανε το δικό του Αλέξανδρο, τον Αμερικάνικο. Τον είδαμε όλοι, ένας καθαρά Αμερικάνικος Αλέξανδρος. Ο Αλέξανδρος Παπαδόπουλος μπορεί να κάνει το δικό του τον ελληνικό.
Not Greek Alexander necessarily, but I do want to make a Greek film. I've been saying it for years, and finally it's becoming a little bit more of a reality that after a couple of more American films, I would like to move to Greece, learn Greek well, finally, and make a Greek film.
Do you have any plans or a project, or it's just an idea?
I want to come here and study Greek and be here, and then be open to ideas that come, although I do have one idea.
Would you like to share it with us? No.
And I didn't see Oliver Stone's Alexander.
You didn't miss much.
I have a question quite relevant with the movie, but I was wondering, how do you feel as Greek I mean, as American with Greek origins, concerning all these things that happen in Greece these days, the economical crisis and all the developments, and how do people react in the States when they learn, both of you, that you are Greeks? What's the reaction?
Well, what am I supposed to feel? It's horrifying and heartbreaking and frustrating, and there doesn't seem to be an easy solution for a long time. It's terrible. But I have to tell you, I've been very touched to be here, that destiny has brought me here even for 3-4 days. Very superficial, I'm only coming in and leaving. But it's been meaningful for me to be here even for 3 days, to talk to people and feel it, and just feel a little bit more, solidarity. But we Greeks of the diaspora read the paper every day, scratch our heads, very heartbroken, but feeling very much in solidarity. I'm American. I have a much different life than if my grandparents had not emigrated. I'm not saying better or worse, just different. But in situations like this, my DNA and my heart, my Greek DNA and my Greek heart are reawakened. It feels more strong.
Fedon, since you spend a lot more time in Greece, would you also like to say something about that?
Well, I feel similar. I mean, I always try to, I have friends I work here, I work on commercials, and I just try to encourage people that, they not to be negative and maintain a positive attitude. And I just think you guys need to work. And if people complain, we talk a lot, friends that produce here, and about the unions and about how people have to make some sacrifices and cut back and maybe make a little less money. If they were making a lot of money before, they still are can make a good living working here. Just in order to be competitive, I work a lot in Belgrade, we go to Serbia, it's all those things. We have to find a way to make Greece competitive for people to, I'm talking not specifically about film, but to be able to come here, work here, be productive here, tell stories here, and also offer opportunities for foreign filmmakers or even American studio pictures to come here. But there has to be ways found that makes it possible for them to compete with other countries. And the bottom line is everybody has to tighten up their belts and work, keep working and not just be negative about it. But in America, people are, I was working on a movie while all this was transpiring, and so there were comments every day on the set, and they were, they're mad at the Greeks because they feel like, and I must say, in America we work, there are a lot of perceptions about Americans, but they do work really, really hard. They don't get a lot of vacation. I'm on vacation right now, 3 months in Greece, and it's unconceivable for Americans. They work extremely hard. We work 80, 90-hour days, sometimes weeks on a movie, which is something that no French person would ever comprehend. We do have strong unions, but people work really, really hard. So they are, they get mad at the Greeks because they feel like, these people don't put in that much work, and they have incredible benefits and retirement secured, and therefore, one case, their funds that they pay into, the stocks they're losing their money, and because Greeks are causing this to happen. So there's a lot of animosity against the Greeks, but a lot of it is just they don't really know the situation.
I am very curious about how was working with Mr. George Clooney, and how was his contribution to your film, and the young actors, the daughters.
George George Clooney. Many directors have told me before working with him, oh, you're going to work with George? What a gift. You're in for such a wonderful experience. And it was true. He really is a great professional, a great star, a terrific collaborator, very inventive with ideas, very cooperative, always says yes. I can't imagine a better experience with a star. And this is only my second experience with a big star. I had Jack Nicholson 2 movies ago, and very similar, very professional. Also, as a director, I learn a lot from these big stars because they've been on so many more movies than I have, and they know filmmaking so well. And anything I ask them to do, they can do exactly. And it forces me to become a better director. Because if I say even a little bit the wrong thing, they do that. And I have to say, oh, it's like a Maserati. It's like, before I've been driving, Fiat. Suddenly I'm driving a Maserati. You go like this and it goes that way. That's how it is.
And he's a fellow director as well as he.
Oh, that's the other thing, is it's always better to direct actors who have themselves directed, because they understand the director's problem and they know how difficult actors are.
And to have a DP that's a director as well, I suppose, it's
also excellent. I need all the ideas I can get, all the collaboration. It's wonderful to have fellow filmmakers around.
And there was a question about the young girls and the kids.
Yeah, so the 2 girls, very different backgrounds. The older one, she was 18 when we made the movie, but she had been acting since she was a little girl. Very professional, very sweet. She is on a television show. Now the younger girl had no experience, not even in a play and in school. Deal with that, nothing, But her talent was just to be very comfortable as herself. She's like a dog or a cat, who can memorize dialogue.
How did you find her? Through a casting director?
No. How did we find the little girl? Like all things, so strange. I looked at maybe 300 girls to play that little girl. And usually the mothers have rehearsed the girls so much that when the girls come in to perform for me, they're terrible. They don't listen to what I say, they remember only what the mother said. So it was 3 weeks away from shooting, and I was back in Los Angeles, and I went to the home of our friend Radan Popovic. He's a Serbian cinematographer, just to say hello. And his wife said, "How it's going, darling?" And I said, "Well, it's fine, we're ready to shoot, except we don't have the little girl." And she said, "Well, how should be the little girl?" And I said, then I went back to Hawaii. Well, that night, Dragana, a friend's wife, told a friend in her apartment building, who told another friend, who told a sister who has a daughter. And 3 days later, I checked my email in the morning, and there's an audition from a little 10-year-old girl in the middle of California, and I look at the performance on email. That was it. How fate works. It's very interesting.
And very Greek, I would say. Έχουμε κάποια τελευταία ερώτηση.
I have another question.
Okay.
I think you didn't use digital effects in your film because the views are wonderful. You said to us that you like the reality. Am I right?
What do you mean by digital effects? Because we do use digital effects even in a realistic film.
The view, landscape.
All of that's real. All of
The
that.
landscapes are real, but we shot on film, and then we do use a digital intermediate Do you know what that is?
It's a little complicated to explain, but yeah, we do use a lot of digital technology because that's the world we live in right now. And we can use digital technology. For example, if the microphone is in the shot, we can remove it.
Υπάρχει μια τελευταία ερώτηση από τη κυρία πίσω από την κάμερα.
Ήθελα να το ρωτήσω
Μισό λεπτό.
αν παρακολουθεί τη σύγχρονη ελληνική κινηματογραφική παραγωγή, ποια είναι η γνώμη του για τις ταινίες που τελευταία διαπρέπουν στο εξωτερικό και σε ό,τι αφορά την οικονομική κρίση ως συνέχεια της προηγούμενης ερώτησης πιο πριν μάλλον, ποια θέση μπορεί να έχει ο πολιτισμός σε μια χώρα που πλήττεται τόσο σημαντικά από μια οικονομική κρίση.
To the second question, culture in Greece today, I can't answer because I'm not Greek. I don't live here, so I don't have an educated response. For the first part, I'm so happy that finally, at least 2 Greek films, Dogtooth and Attenborough, are traveling outside of Greece. Whether you like the films or not, they're finding an international audience. And I think that opening is magnificent. Finally, I've been waiting years for Greek films, in my lifetime, for Greek films to leave Greece, leave the borders. And I'm not the first one to say this, and it's always a little bit dangerous to say such a thing. But crisis is often good for the arts. And if filmmakers will have something really concrete to say about the situation in Greece, maybe directly, maybe metaphorically, then that's a wonderful opportunity to have a voice leave Greece and go around the world. I think this could be a wonderful opportunity for film. You could say culture in general, but I don't know culture in general. I know film.
It's just nice to see that the Greek films now are getting seen and recognized, even by the Academy, and in America, and people really responded to Dogtooth, and I think hopefully this trend will continue and encourage those same filmmakers and new filmmakers. I saw some other films last year, a black and white film, My Hero, and other films like that. That's nicer. It's just nice that getting exposure, people are talking about them, and there's definitely an open view towards Greece now in terms of film, which was a black hole before. Nobody knew anything, so it's great. I think it is encouraging, and hopefully, I agree that it just seemed before they were trying to emulate maybe other films from other countries, and now because of everything negative that's going on, maybe there's more urgent things that will affect how the language of film is, and that it seems more important to talk about it and spend your energy on.
Thank you very much.
No, one last thought though, but it is precisely in a time of crisis that we need beauty. We need art, we need beauty, and what Mayor Bugatti said last night at the opening about precisely the time of crisis,